tonight we're going to be talking about databases, migrations, and SQL. Oh my, an intro to WordPress databases and migrations. This is WordPress St. Petersburg. If any of you have computers and need to get online, the Wi-Fi network information is there at the very bottom, but it's also in a lot of signs around here too. So if you can't find it, it's also, yeah. Jim, it's right there too, if you need it. Yeah. I am Jim True. I am the support lead and community manager of the Pods framework. That is my website, and that is their website, but we'll show that again at the end. Okay, how many times has this happened to you? You have worked on a site for days. You're happy with the site. The client's happy with the site. Even better, they've paid you for it. And then suddenly you have to move it to their server. And now you're lost. And you could be lost because, okay, you work on websites all the time, but all of a sudden you got to start thinking about, oh my, how do I move a WordPress website? It's here, I got to get it there. Where do you start? With the files in the databases. But which files? Which database? Let's start with WordPress. The WordPress general configuration file, the one that actually loads it, is in your, wherever you have WordPress installed, in that wp-config.php file. That includes information to connect to the database. It also includes information that might be particular to your specific install. It'll be different for every single WordPress install, but you need to at least have a copy of that file before you migrate. You also have to grab the specific content for your WordPress website. That means everything underneath WP content. Those are the only files that are specific to your installation. Everything else is WordPress. And you can get that anywhere. Typically, your hosting company will actually install WordPress, and all you really have to do is replace everything in WP content. And what that is the themes, the plugins, come on you, and the images. Your themes are always going to be inside your themes directory, your plugins are all going to be inside plugins, and your uploads is where all of your media is. Hopefully, yes. But that's all of your data. That's your data, file type data for your website. Now for the database. This is where it gets real fun. Your users, and I'm going to pop over in a bit and show you this in an actual database installation so you can actually see what they look like. Your users are in a table called WP Users and WP User Meta. That includes your logins, your passwords, what access roles, everything. Your posts are stored in WP Posts and Post Meta. Your comments are in Comments and Comment Meta. Your taxonomies, the categories, tags, and if you've got any custom taxonomies, are in terms, term taxonomy, and term relationships. And your plugin and theme settings are in WP Options. All of these files are, and all of these database tables and all their fields, etc., are really well documented on Tour the WordPress Database on Delicious Brains website. I've got a link for it at the very end of the slide in the resources section. So basically just copy those to the new server and I'm done, right? No. It's not enough to just copy the files in the database. You have to change the information in your wp-config.php for the new database credentials. That means your username, password, where it's located, port, could be some other information like that specific to the database connection strings. Your site URL, the website domain name, needs to be changed in WP Options. And any reference to that site URL also has to be changed anywhere it is inside your content. So that means like in your post content, on that post type, over here and everywhere. So you have to do a gigantic search and replace across your entire database to find your old domain name and flip it. Those are the things that are required to move a WordPress website. The step-by-step copy and import, and I've got a link down there at the bottom. I've also got it at the end of the website of this set of slides. The step-by-step is to do a SQL dump of the database. I'll show you how to do that. We're going to copy files from WP content and the database dump to your new server. You're going to create a new database, create a user, and import data from the SQL dump on the new server. You're going to update the WP config PHP with everything you just created in number 3. You're going to update WP options with the new site URL. You're going to log into WP Admin, go to Settings, General, and change the site URL there and hit Save, or make sure that the site URL is the new name and hit Save. And then you're going to do a search and replace against the post content in WP Post for image and media links. God, wouldn't it be easier if there was a better, easier way to do this? Seriously. And there is. We've got tools for that. Backup Buddy, Updraft, and WP DB Migrate Pro are the three I'm going to talk about tonight. I found out tonight, actually, that Updraft actually does backups and restores, scheduled servers, and offsite backups in the free copy. So that was pretty impressive. So you have to basically determine your needs when it comes to backing up, restoring, migrating, and moving your database. Does it back up the files in the database? All three of those do, except for the last one at the end there with the funny-looking head. The one at the very end with the funny-looking head is a special kind of circumstance, and we're going to talk about it at the end, because the one at the end is if you are doing production website, constantly changing your local configuration, the development copy for the server, and the live server, and you're constantly moving data back and forth. Typically, that means you're managing like a huge website installation that's constantly changing. WP DB Migrate Pro is the absolute best for that, because it will pull down the data from the live site to your local copy. It'll allow you to push data back up again. It's a push-pull technology. It's my preferred method, but it doesn't do anything with the files. Do they have off-site backup storage? Backup Buddy will write to Google Drive, Cloud Drive, Dropbox, and several other locations. Updraft does the same thing. Off-site backup storage in this case is your database, and your off-site backup is actually your local copy. And you can also push it off to another site if you want to. Do they do scheduled backups? All three of them do. The last one does it through WordPress CLI command line interface with cron jobs. Do they have multi-site support? All three of them do. So you can do network backups. You can do backups of one site out of a network. DB Migrate Pro allows you to actually take a site out, put a site in, do all kinds of like little fun stuff like that. Do they have an easy migration setup? Backup Buddy is probably the easiest here, and we'll talk about each one when I go through the screens of them. Updraft, I was pretty impressed with, but their migration setup is only in the Pro version. It doesn't include it in the free version. And DB Migrate Pro, it's easy, but it's different. So let's talk about Backup Buddy by iThemes. Backup Buddy by iThemes is a plugin that's premium. It has database and file backups, including other tables on your site, which is sometimes necessary. If you're working on a configuration where they've got other plugins that actually write other tables, you need to make sure everything is grabbed. It does scheduled backups and offsite backups, and it will also email you if when your backup is finished, when it starts and finishes. This is very important if your server crashes or if someone goes in and destroys it. You can always get the site back again. That's important. They have a really simple migration tool. When you're inside the Backup Buddy on the site that you're migrating, you can have it create a file called importbuddy.php. You drop that file into the new place where you're going to be putting WordPress at. You go to the website, go importbuddy.php. You've put a password in over here. It puts it in over there, and it walks you through step by step, restoring the files, creating the database, merging and then searching, replacing, and everything. It was one of the best first tools I ever came across when I first started doing this, and I absolutely love it. I still think it works really well, but I've grown beyond it. But that is, for quick migrations, it's hands down really good. They do not have a free version, however. Updraft Plus, which is the guys that were here last week, they were going to actually help talk about this one, but I looked it up and found out about it. Okay, yeah. It does database and file backups, including other tables. It does scheduled backups and offsite backups. They have a cloning and migration tool, which is only in the premium version, but they also have an Updraft Vault, so like you can actually store your backups in the cloud in a special little place extra. They also have an Updraft Migrator tool, which is what I'm talking about, their cloning and migration tool, so that you can go from this site to that site. And they have Updraft Central, which is a place like if you manage multiple sites, it'll handle all the backups and all the migrations inside them. Their free version does backup and restore, some offsite storage, and does schedule backups. WP DB Migrate Pro is the weird one in this picture. It does database backups and media with an add-on to the Pro version. It does absolutely no files. It's an interesting setup because I don't know how many of you people have typically done it, but like most hosting companies, when you buy a hosting company or when you buy a hosting plan, they'll throw WordPress on there for you. They automatically do, typically. So one step of your little piece is out of the way right there. If you log into that WordPress installation and you install DB Migrate, and, well, the Pro version, enter your license key, and then it gives you a little bit of string of code to copy and paste into your production version, the one you want to migrate. This DB Migrate Pro has a license. It gives you a little code. You put that code in that one. This one has that code in that one. And they automatically connect to each other. And they basically go, okay, what do you want to do now? Do you want me to pull, push, what? This one over here can pull the data from this side over to this side. This one over here can push the data from over here to there. Or they can go back and forth. If you think along the lines of like, I'm working on a website locally. I've just shown it to my client. And I want to get it up to their website really quickly. I've already got the plugins and everything installed. I've already got the main files that I need for a WordPress install, my theme and my plugin files, because I work in GitHub and I like doing file repos and stuff like that. If you think along the lines that I've got the files already in place, all I really need to do is move the data. I do the little push, the data's up there. My user account's up there. It goes and makes all the search and replaces. It does everything it has to do. It already has the database configuration because it was installed with it. So I don't have to worry about the WP config between the two installations. It's really good if you're working on a site locally and you're showing the client what it looks like. Says, oh yeah, I really like that change, thanks. Push to live. Or I haven't worked on a site for 6 or 7 months, pull the whole thing down, look at it, make the changes they want, get the confirmation they want it, push, all the changes are back up again. The big thing is, though, again, it doesn't do your files. So as long as you think along the lines of, my theme files are usually just an installed theme, unless I've done something custom to them. And those you would install anyway in WP Content Themes. Your plugins, you just copy and paste them or make sure they're installed ahead of time. All the media also comes through DB Migrate Pro. They have a plugin called Media, and it will do the search and replace. It'll look and see, does that file already exist on the server, and it'll replace it for you. It's very useful. Also has multi-site support. It does. It can also do excluding of post types and a lot of other fun stuff like that. So it's my preferred tool, but that's just me. So let's get into some demos because I know that was a lot of talk. So we're going to start with the database concepts. All right, sorry about my browser window. And I know that was fast, folks. I don't always talk that fast. I hope. Let's get that bigger so you guys can see it. And let's zoom it up a bit. Okay. So let's show you first a database so that you kind of know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these user portal. Okay. This is WP Engine's backend. Unfortunately, I don't have any hosting companies that have a cPanel, but most of your hosting companies, what you're looking for if you have to get into the database side of the world is going to be, let me make that a little bigger. You're looking for PHPMyAdmin. And that should be somewhere on your cPanel under databases, PHPMyAdmin. And it'll let you see your actual database. Boy, that will not store the zoom, will it? That is really annoying. So in this case, my installation is in the WP_PyWacket directory. All of your WordPresses typically will be in a WP_something. Database table, or database, I should say. These are the files I just told you about, the users, user meta, post meta, etc. If you look at post, because this is the one you guys will most likely recognize, you can scroll across here, and I think my hello, yeah, there it is. Welcome to WordPress is your first post. Everyone's seen that post in their WordPress installation. That's how your website information is actually stored. And if you look down here, the GUID directory actually has the URLs of this particular site, which in this case is pywhack.wpengine.com. But it could also be inside this post content directory right here. But your first step when you're trying to do one manually is to go into SQL, I think. No, export, my bad. When you're inside PHP admin, it's export, and then a quick SQL go. And this will create a file, which you can't see, but it's basically a SQL dump file. And that includes everything. Actually, in this case, I don't only grab my WP host. I should have actually went all the way to here. My bad. Yeah, there we go. Exporting tables from that database. And that'll be all of them. So that's all it takes to get a dump file. To restore one, you just basically go to import, load that file, and select it from your computer, and boom. You can make a lot of mistakes this way, though. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's an easy way to make a mistake. That's why we use plugins like Updraft and Backup Buddy and stuff like that. I'll show you Backup Buddy's interface. Again, I only have it on another person's website, so give me just a bit. Okay, zoom that in the pad. There we go. So that's way too close. Okay. It's actually located on, since this is a network install, it will actually be in her network admin. Backup Buddy, there we go. I'll zoom it down a little bit, I'm too big now. Okay. And backup. Come on now. It's waiting. There we go. So Backup Buddy's interface does database only, themes only, plugins only, media only, or a complete backup. And you can basically, from here, you can tell it to go where I want it. You can actually configure it. Sorry, that popped over there too fast. Ignore that. I think that's actually in the settings. Oh, it's going to town. That didn't take long. Actually, this is going to be a very long backup, so I'm not going to stay here on this screen. But it actually gives you a full overview of everything. You can configure where it goes. You can configure the connection strings to make it connect to different offsite locations. And for doing an import, you would basically go, is it MS? That's multi-site import. Restore migrate, there it is. If you're doing a migrate, basically they give you this nice little screen right here to download importbuddy.php or send it to a remote destination. And then it basically tells you to go to that particular URL on your new web server and let it go. You do not have to have WordPress installed. You don't have to have a database created. It'll walk you through everything. It's worth it. It's a nice little plugin. Especially if you're not doing a lot of migrations, but if you're doing one-shot migrations, it's amazing. Once you've got Backup Buddy running, it's excellent for doing backups and restores. That's Backup Buddy. Yes.
It sounds like you only need a license for you doing the backing up and restoring, and you get this free program that you install on the destination locations.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy those.
Right, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Backup Buddy, if you're running it, if you're just doing migrations with it, and you're not worrying about backing them up, you only need the license for the site you're going to be pushing to. So you need one license to be able to handle that. I don't know if they do it by that or if they do it by like 10 site counts, but if you're like responsible for that client's backups, then you want to buy a license. Yeah, you would want to buy a license so that they could do their backups. Updraft is free. We can actually show that one next, I think. Let me see. That's WP Engine. I think it is on my demo site. Shoot. to hop over to my local real quick. There we go. Where'd you go? Okay. There we go, admin. Okay, so this is the site that has Updraft on it. Let's see, current status, backup now. I configured my connection to my Google Drive before we logged in on this one, but this one is backup now. I've actually got 2 backups already in here. It includes database plugins, themes, uploads, others. You can see this one actually went to my Google Drive. Pretty much backup and etc. To do a clone migrate, you would have to have the premium version, right?
Yeah, but it's easy to just not even use that. And
what you do is you just typically go to like another site and then install Updraft and then just restore it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The easiest procedure that I found is to literally create your new site with WordPress.
Yeah.
Install Updraft on it. Go to your old site. Take the file, because they all come in, they're all in the Updraft folder.
Okay.
WP content/Updraft.
Okay.
The top one, they're tagged with a date, so you just
could it also grab it off of my, if I set up offsite, could it actually grab it from my offsite?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, it depends on where you back it up. If you back it up just to your machine, or to the server, it'll just show up on the server, and you can just drag it off the server.
Oh, and that's another big thing. If you're doing backups of a site, don't leave them on the server. Don't leave them on the server at all. I mean, WP Engine is like responsible for that. So WP Engine does like one spot backups every morning, I think. And so you can easily go back to like another backup. Like if I've made an absolute hose of my website and messed up all the themes, etc., I just click restore and it's back in like 2 minutes. Yeah. And that's why I use WP Engine. Sure.
The method that you were just talking about, do you need the clone migrate tool for it, or
no? You don't even use it. You create your new site and you install Updraft on it. You go to your old site and you literally click backup, and then even on the backup page, if you have a backup on it, if you go to the existing backups.
Oh, sorry, existing backups. Hang on. Sorry. Yeah.
And you were to right click on those each database plugins.
Right.
Just the tabs.
Oh, okay.
You should be able to just right click on them. Oh no. Can I see?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason you need the clone migrate tool is if you want to do the search and replace functionality. So if you want to move it to a different domain name, is when you would need the clone migrate.
Oh, you have to click it.
And then
you click it and then it downloads it.
And then it downloads. So you download that, and it will download to your computer.
Or delete. Yeah. Okay.
You drag it over to the new site that has a WP content/Updraft, and then you literally migrate to your new site.
And hit restore.
And you'll have these in there, and you hit restore, and it's done.
Okay. So that's not too bad, yeah. I know this is confusing for some folks, but the main thing comes down to is like when you're working on a local website, as long as you make a backup of it, or you're working on a live website and you make a backup of it, you're not deleting anything over here. So this new site that you haven't even done anything to yet, you're not going to break it. Contact the host, tell them reinstall WordPress on it. It's not that big a deal. It's like, don't be afraid to get in there and look at the database. I mean, it's not going to hurt. You're not going to hurt anything if you're just looking. You know what I mean? If you go in the directories and just look around and see where things are, you're going to feel more comfortable about what you're doing in the future. If you can, just go into, I don't think my WP Engine gives me FTP access, but one of these might. Let me see. In this case, all of these, this website here, this demo one is actually local. So, give me a second. Excuse me. So I can't show you how you would do file management within like a hosting company's version. Oh, there's my mouse. It came back. Where are you, mouse? But I can show you. Hang on. Change to local. Is that demo? Yeah, demo. Okay. Change to out. Change to public All right, here. I'll drag that over. I don't know if I can make that any bigger. Let's see. No, I can't. That's not good. Hang on. Tell you what, I'm going to mirror screens. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay. This is your WordPress installation. That's the file right there. Here you can configure that PHP that controls your website. All your database credentials, connection strings are in that file. I can show you it if you'd like. Let's see, Adam. Ooh, that's not pretty. Yeah. Can you read that? Because I can't. But these files right here, or these lines right here, the define database name, define database user, define database password, and define database host. These 4 lines control your connection to the database. Those are the ones you really have to know about. And you can see that on your remote website installation or your local installation. Those are what's required to make a connection to your website. It's not complicated. It looks complicated, but getting the name, the user, the password, and the host from your hosting company is not that bad. So inside here, though, all this other stuff is your WordPress installation. But the only thing you care about is what's in here. And look, oh, there's what he's talking about, Updraft. There's his backups that we did, so inside the Updraft directory. So basically, if you were going to do a restore into a new WordPress installation using Updraft, you'd grab that folder and drag it up to the website. This contains my plugins, though. This contains my themes. And this contains my files, all my media and stuff. We don't care about Upgrade because Upgrade is automatically created by WordPress when it's doing one of its little upgrades. It doesn't matter. And you usually don't care about MU plugins. I need it for my local WordPress, but each WordPress installation is different, so you may not have to worry about that one. The ones that matter are plugins, themes, and uploads. So that's those. All right, let me show you very quickly. There it is. Woo, that's too big now. Hang on. Let me show you WP DB Migrate Pro. So like this is the Pro version, yeah. So like I've created under my settings, it's given me a little string that I cut and paste into my local website. So my local website is over here at local, I think. Yeah, there it is. And dashboard. And let's see, where is it? It's down under tools. Hello, there it is. Migrate DB Pro. So this one has, I want that profile. Settings. This is my local string, and this is the local string that I give to my secret key for my local setup that I give to my remote setup. So let's say this one is set to, this is my local, so its permissions are pull and push. I'll turn them both on. And in this case, I want to do a pull from a remote location, and I want to, it'll go through and it'll change the URLs. It'll also go through and change some local file URLs. I can go in and tell it what tables to deal with. I can exclude certain post types. I can also replace all my GUIDs, which doesn't mean a single thing to you guys, or spam comments, or any of that other kind of stuff. One of the things I really like about this one, which I also notice Updraft also does, is you can tell it to not bring over the active theme and plugin settings. So if you've ever loaded a website and all your plugins aren't there, and you turn it on and you get the big ugly white screen of death, or you log in and you get like massive amounts of little red messages that go, this plugin doesn't exist. That's because your two sites aren't synced file-wise, typically. And so that's just an option to basically turn off the active plugins, and I do that quite often. This one also will do media files, so it'll compare and then download, or compare, download, and then remove, or remove all and then download. And but it's kind of nice. I like it because I can go in and like this is the production site right now. I can go in and add a new post type here, which I'm just going to do very quickly. We'll call it videos. And it should be, yeah, just dropped in below social links right there. Okay, so I can do that on my remote site and save it. And I can now go over here and very quickly, because all I'm talking about is the database, I can do a pull and save, and it'll pull the data down. And I could have told it to only give me that one particular table if I wanted, because that's all I was working on. But in this case, I'm just going to do the full pull and save. And it'll go through and do the media too. And since it looked at them first, it's not going to probably actually do anything with there. Nope, it did them all. And you can look at them and see. What I really like about this one too is it also gives you the ability, it didn't on this one, but you can tell it to actually pause before migrating, which is really nice. So you can see what happens or what would happen, and it writes it all in temp table so that you don't actually make a mess there. And then of course it makes me log in again because I just replaced my user database, so locally. And if I look now, look, I'm on my local now, and videos just dropped in there. So I just created a post type. I could have actually gone and populated it, put information in it the whole bit. But the whole idea is that I can sit here and do local development, create a whole new configuration for my site, and push it up to live just like that, and not have to really do much work. So that's the reason I use that plugin. Any other ones you guys want to talk about real quick? Because you talked about Updraft Plus. We've talked about Backup Buddy. I'm actually quite impressed with Updraft now because I didn't realize that it did offsite schedules, backups, and restores in the free version. So I can highly recommend that now.
I mean, the only reason I got the migration tool is because I want to move it to a subdomain and I want to a separate copy of the site.
Well, and that's kind of the weird stuff too, is that when you're dealing with these products like this, let me get out of the mirror mode and I'll go back to the, there we go. Let's see. When you're dealing with these plugins like this, you have all these different considerations to think about. Am I working on a network multi-site and I'm only dealing with one site inside that multi-site? You know, that the way WordPress configures those, all the themes and plugins are the same across the board, except that you have a separate little directory inside each one of those for each one of those sub-multi-sites. The users are shared across the entire database, but posts and all these other ones are inside separate tables. It gets really confusing. And that's why some of these plugins help quite a bit with that. That same Tour the WordPress multi-site database, or the Tour the WordPress database from Delicious Brains, they also have Tour the multi-site database. And that's been a very good resource for mine to find out how this stuff works. So let me actually show you that. We have, I didn't realize it was the next slide. I feel stupid now. Delicious Brains has Tour the WordPress database, and they also have Tour the WordPress multi-site database, and it explains how those databases are configured, what's stored in them, what the fields are. Jeff, I'm gonna upload the PDF tonight.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to kill yourself there. Yeah. These 3 links that I'm linking from WP Beginner, I honestly, anytime I ever have a question or don't know how to do something or don't know how to explain to somebody else how to do something, because I worked in WordPress for a very long time, but I don't remember everything. You know, I do databases. I do, major systems analyst work. I don't work in every single piece of WordPress. So my suggestion is if you're lost on something, or if you've got a question on something, go to WP Beginner. They're one of the best sites to start with, especially if you've got a question and you don't know how to do something. I went there today and I found 3 exactly what I needed. You know, I haven't done a local server live site in forever because I use plugins for it. So I was able to find out they had the perfect steps for it right there. They also had one on how to use Duplicator, which was a nice plugin, but I like his Updraft better. And they also have the 7 best backup plugins, pros and cons, and they talk about Backup Buddy, they talk about Updraft, they talk about several of them. So it's worth checking out. But WP Beginner, it's worth checking out. What time are we at? Because I know I talked really fast. It's 7:05. Wow. Questions?
There's another big one called that we just started using for plugin development, and that is WP staging.
Oh.
And it's not as much for client stuff, but it's more for like when we're testing our newest plugin stuff.
Yeah.
We can test it on, like we need an exact, we want to check our live stuff against, so we can pull from live to the test server. It sets up a staging server and then push back and forth.
Now, does it do?
The really awesome thing about it is,
Yeah.
is like when you do the the one con about it is it doesn't have the search replace stuff. But we just used a better search replace
Okay.
plugin we use.
Yeah, DB Migrate Pro does that automatically for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you might want to look at that one as a
The other
possibility.
good advantage of the WP staging one is it changes the admin bar color to bright orange.
Oh, to let you know?
So like, 'cause, sometimes if
Yeah.
the better search or the search replace doesn't
Yeah.
find it, or, there's something off about it, then you'll know because the color of the admin bar is bright orange. So you know
Okay.
you're still on the staging, you're looking for links on the
Yeah,
line.
mine is, that's always been mine is like, I'm on my local, we have a staging server, which is the one that's like a automatic copy of live,
Yeah,
and I don't know which one I'm on when I'm just looking at it.
yeah.
But you can change the color of your profile.
Oh yeah, that's true.
One color for staging, one color for production.
It's an
And then,
idea.
like what I did, I just also, whatever the sunset or whatever the reddish color
Yeah.
was, I just make that the production. If it's red, I don't touch it, except to my.
There's a plugin that Andrew Norcross does. It's the one he's the guy that created that airplane mode only for Jetpack and some of those. Like, it's a really nice, simple plugin for like if you're going to be on, with your local development server or whatever, and you need to like turn off the airplane mode or whatever and be able to work, because Jetpack will scream at you the whole time if you're not. But I think he has a plugin that actually provides like an admin label that you can drop in there, and I think it's configured at the WP config and in the plugin, and it will tell you something will be up there. This is live staging development, so you can't miss it. So it's a big thing when you're working in sites a lot and you don't know where you are. So yeah, but WP staging, I saw that today, but I wasn't
This
sure.
one Actually, and what it does is it'll make, like for us, it's great because it makes an exact copy of the live site. We want to test everything because we work a lot with APIs, so we
Yeah.
can't always work. A lot of the stuff is live APIs too. We can't work with the local stuff as much. So we what we do is it makes a copy of the WordPress, all the files, the PHP, INI to make sure
Oh, wow.
everything's right. It sets up everything for you
Okay.
right away, and then you just go and do whatever you need to do.
So it does the files and everything. It's not just database.
Yeah, it's making it on it's not making it on it's making it in a folder on your.
Okay.
Well, you can use it, you can set it up differently, but like we'll just use it in a live folder, like on the live site.
On the same live site.
Sub-install.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
I was looking for that, so thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, Tracy.
Have you done anything much with WordPress command line?
No.
And I'm not a command line guy, I'm not against it at all, so I'm far from that, but.
Scott, our lead developer at Pods, is a major command line
I
guy.
showed that when I just got introduced to WP Engine, because
Yeah.
they have it built in,
Oh yeah.
and it does a lot of the search and replace functions. So
Yeah.
you do a nice little command line,
Ooh, yeah.
search, find, replace.
Oh yeah, WP CLI is amazing. You just
Yeah.
have to know how to use it. Yeah, and I mean they've got a CLI interface for WP DB Migrate Pro. They've got one for pretty much everything out there now. Yeah.
And then the other trick I just learned was to be able to change your host file. So if you're
Oh, that's a
if
good
you-
big one.
So if you're not doing a search and replace, and say you want to take a copy of the site and put it in a subdirectory on another domain somewhere, literally he just showed me, he's like, oh, well, if you change your host file to that new IP address or that new instance, WordPress will work like
Yes.
it's the right domain from your computer, which even allowed me to use things like Screaming Frog and everything else like that on. So using some of my web-based tools on an instance because I changed my own host ID. And I'm like, it made sense, but I just never thought of it. I was like, oh, that fixes all of the theme problems, the plugin problems, and everything else. And so it all started working without having to go through the database and change everything.
Yeah, that's a good point I was going to mention too, because I saw that you said that there was a lot of things that you had to change if you were going to do it manually, like going into the WP options and changing the domain name.
Yeah, the site URL on the domain.
Yeah, if you're going to move it from one site to another site, the only difference is the domain. Going in and changing the domain on the site you're working on and saving it is the best way to do it, because then, like you say, it changes all that structure for you.
Before you create the site, right? I mean,
Before you create
the local site, you need to create the new domain that you want and match the domain you're going to send it to.
Yeah,
Right? And then as you build it, it naturally uses the information that you're going to have when you send it over, so they'll be the same. You can't build it and then change your host file. You have to be thinking ahead, change the host file first before you build it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, for people that are going to move or migrate, it's easier to, once you have your beta set up or your development all done and you're ready to move it to your live, you go in and change the domain name in the general settings area. So then on your local site or whatever, it may break, but the DB will be updated with all the.
Yeah, and see, I hate doing that because I'm constantly working on my locals and my devs and my staging and my live.
Yeah.
So I would much rather have my bizarre little WP DB Migrate Pro web that connects them all. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just remember, if it's a client site that maybe you didn't always have control over, remember some people have things like mail to links that have domain names in them, or pictures that have domain names, or sometimes I even had one that was doing offsite storage of all the images on an Amazon server, which had a domain name part of that install, which then, there's test. Look for 404s after you.
This is where you use the plugin, that's the way.
Yeah.
They handle all that. And they'll-
Well, that's why they made that. That's why they made that specific plugin, was specifically for that capability. Because most of when you're getting into the professional level like you guys are, I mean, you do all your files with GitHub, right? Yeah. I mean, you're basically, doing your little Git pushes and your Git clones and your all that stuff, like we are, Git merges and the whole thing. And the database is the part that needs to also do that. And that's kind of what they've done, but they've even talked about it as well, because there's this whole thing that when you're doing a database copy, there's like the serialized ID arrays and stuff like that in some of the meta. They take care of that as part of their process. But one thing that they also point out is that there's no way to take, okay, you've made one little post change here, and this person over here has made this one little post change over here. It's a live site. Let's say it's a huge e-commerce website. It's getting orders every 2 minutes, and I'm adding orders up here. And I suddenly want to bring in an entire cell. I want to bring in an entire cell with like 20 new items and stuff like that, and I want to merge that into that live site. There is no way any of these processes can do that. That's always been a problem with databases, because you're talking about doing all my data's here, all this data is new, I don't want to change any of this data, I can't change any of this data, it's e-commerce, it's financial, I can't touch this data, but I have to bring new data in. And some of this data might actually be writing into some of these tables. Some may be new posts, some may not be. Go ahead.
I'm curious about one part of how that works. I understand that, you're local, you create some test records, while production is creating real records.
Right.
But it's often the case that ID numbers, for example, are auto-incremented.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So how does it match, how does it bring over a record that's got one ID number over here, but it can't have that ID number where you're sending it, because there's already a record.
You can't. That's the problem, is that you can't. Yeah.
I'm sure they figured it out.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is.
No, you can't do that. That's the problem, is that's the kind of issue I'm talking about. You can't bring in a table that you've created locally that has a string of numbers that are unique here.
No, I meant the Delicious Brains has a merge tool.
They do now. It's called MergeBot, yeah.
I was just curious if you knew how that kind of thing worked.
They write it to a temporary table and
They
then...
don't bring it in a table at a
No,
time.
they basically... They have to do comparisons and contrasts. They look to see, like we're doing it, we have to do it in pods as well, because we have the exact same issue. We have objects. You have to actually identify this stuff by the slug as opposed to the ID, and then do a compare and contrast against the two records, find out which ones are different, pop in the new. And that's kind of, it's called a differential backup. And WordPress doesn't support that right now. There's 2 plugins out there. There's MergePress, I think is one. Is it MergePress or BranchPress, or it has the word press in it? I know that much. I just can't. Yeah, I know it has the word press in it. I just don't know the name of it. But there's one folks that are trying to do it the Git way, the GitHub way, which is creating branches, creating repositories, and doing proper merging. And then there's the database. Delicious Brains guys are doing MergeBot, but they haven't released MergeBot yet, so I don't know.
Well, they have.
I don't think so.
That wasn't out.
I think it's out of alpha. It's somewhere in there, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But I know that's their design, is to do temporary table copies and then push them in. I mean, I used to work in databases my entire life. SQL did it with transaction logs. Basically, every single time a database record was written, it wrote a log down here, and those logs would stack up. But if you had to merge massive amounts of financial data, they'd do a comparison and then pull in what would change. And that's kind of how SQL and Oracle and some of the other big databases did that. But MySQL doesn't support that. I've never seen a differential backup on MySQL. And that's what that's called, differential. Incremental means, or let me see, there's a static backup, a backup now. An incremental backup means I'm only backing up what changed between that backup and this and now. And then a differential backup means tell me what changed between the two and only write those down.
What tool do you use to do that?
You can't do it in MySQL.
What have you written to?
Me? I've never, not me.
Oh.
Yeah, this was back when I worked in Microsoft SQL, Oracle, and yeah. You had to read the transaction logs, the database transaction logs.
So I think what we're saying is that what Delicious Brains, the DB Migrate Pro, looks like they're coming out with that.
Yes. They're trying to come up.
How it works, and it's not necessarily. We get it's coming.
It's coming. It may be here. I don't know. So yeah.
And it may work. You gotta try.
It's interesting to see how they would handle it, like if they could do it in real time, because like obviously you can only do it for that far. Like think about it, you can only do it for like that instant. So what happens if you have stuff changing? Like say there's 1,000 authors on your WordPress, and there's like 20 new posts. By the time you're done even comparing it,
session logs. That'd be session logs at that point.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you would have to. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Is like that's how we did it again in the big databases. Is you track sessions, you track what they're changing, you write them off into their own little subtables, and then those they're over here in a little subtable.
Makes sense.
And then they don't commit until the end of the transaction.
And kind of think like an inventory. If you're doing inventory for like a convenience store, you got, there's the inventory that's there, and now you start tracking everybody that's coming in and out of the store during that day.
Yeah, if you don't stop us, we're going to keep talking about tables and databases like this because obviously we're fascinated by databases and tables. And Elaine's over there going, her eyes are glazing. And cut it, Jim. Yeah. So, any real questions?
Not a question, but I just set up. Would you like to see the draft move over and pop?
You'd have to get it on my screen, so we wouldn't be able to catch it on the video or anything, so I'm going to say no to that. So, yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah. Any other questions? You guys are way too quiet. Did we go over your heads? What? Come on. Your brain's trying to reform?
So what's your top recommendation for someone who's had minimal experience with Databricks?
Well, what do you need? What's your primary minimum viable need? Are you building websites for somebody else?
Yeah, so I've developed it locally,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
So then I want to migrate.
Updraft. Yeah. It's free.
Yeah.
And it lets you do exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So you won't have a migrator tool, but like you said, you install Updraft on the new host.
Yeah.
You put it locally. You drop the new files in the WP content directory in the Updraft directory. Boom. Done. Restore. Out. Bye-bye. Play with it, obviously.
Yeah.
I kind of came in a little bit late, so.
That's okay, yeah. A lot. We're videotaping it, so yeah.
Awesome, great. So I have a real life situation right now where I'm not by any means a WordPress guru at all.
It's okay. Everybody's an expert at something. So.
But my client right now got ticked off at the person was handling all their stuff now, so somehow I came into play, and there's just this bad blood, but he's just pretty much saying, here, take this, zipped file of the of the website and just put it on your own hosting, and I'm like, oh,
Okay.
All right, so I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I'm kind of like, man, I just feel like there's
Okay,
gonna be
well,
all these things come over.
All right, well, look at the zip file first off, and look to see, does it have a WP content directory? Themes, plugins, uploads. Those are your content files for that server, the actual physical files for your new installation, wherever you're going to be putting it at. I would make a local copy and do it local that way. Just make a local copy of the website of WordPress and drop that WP content into that directory. Look in the zip file and see if there's a SQL dump file. It'll either be SQL.SQL somewhere in there, but it's basically, that has to be in there. If you don't have that, you don't have any of the data.
There was themes, plugins, and what?
Themes, plugins, uploads. And it'll be in WP-content. And the file you're looking for is, it'll either have a .SQL extension, it might have a gzip extension, but you're looking for a SQL dump of the database. Now, do you have access to the original site?
Currently, right now, I do, and I'm having one of my guys bring everything down.
Well, I mean, do you have do you have cPanel access? I mean,
I will, on the new hosting that I'm going to do,
no, I mean on the existing site.
No, I don't have any access
Whatsoever.
Just to see it. I've got one of my buddies that's just going to download the whole thing just so that if I have to, worst case scenario, recreate the whole thing, which I'm almost feeling like, you know what?
So you can't log into the WordPress admin, anything?
No,
Okay.
I mean, that's what the original situation was supposed to be. I guess they got all puffy and puffy.
Well, as long as you can get the files, I mean, worst case scenario with the data side of it.
Sorry.
It's okay. There's a cricket in here. Okay. Worst case scenario. Yeah. Worst case scenario, if he didn't give you the SQL dump to basically restore the database with, go into the live site and cut and paste.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
no problem. I'm almost borderline fit because I feel like I can build a WordPress site like that. I'm almost tempted to just say, okay, whatever, I'll just rebuild it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had situations where I've had to rebuild something from a zip file that just had the dump and the files, and I'm fine. But I've also had situations where I've had someone went in and reinstalled WordPress over the top of an existing site and completely wiped that wp-config.php file directory, threw out all the media files, everything. I'd been working on the site for like 20 hours. And then the client said they weren't going to pay me to rebuild it, even though I did. I completely rebuilt it for them because I knew how to do that. And I had a backup. Didn't want to pay me for it. I went and deleted the database. Because he can't get anything back if you delete the database. So if the client's not paying you, delete the database. That's pretty much it. Just make sure you back it up beforehand, exactly. And make sure you have a contract that says that, because that's my bid. So, yeah.
So in your situation, are you going to change the domain name, or are you getting the domain name back?
That's another thing I kind of have an issue with. The guy who owns the domain, even though he did it for this company. And I explained that to my guy.
Did they pay for it?
He can rip you guys off anytime you want, even if I
Did the client pay for the domain registration?
I don't know.
Did they have a contract that shows an invoice where they paid for a domain registration? Even if the other guy was the technical contact or the admin contact, it doesn't matter. As long as you have an invoice from your client that shows they paid with a canceled check the domain registration, you can easily do a hostile takeover through the domain registrar and the hosting company.
I mean, I'm trying to be like a peacekeeper here.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that up.
It doesn't help.
Those are the clients, I mean, honestly, those are the clients I used to get the most, were like the ones where I had to do the hostile takeover. Someone had come in, they had a web person who did their site, they stopped doing it, they had the domain, they had the hosting, they had everything. And the client needed to get everything back. I always do it nice, but I also take care of everything else. And you have to just make sure all the ducks in the row, check the contracts, check the payments, see who's paid what, and then deal with the technical side of the house, which is the hosting company and the domain registrar. And as long as you've got documented proof from your side that the client paid for it, it's very easy to get that stuff back.
So if the web guy was contracted by my client, even though it's under the name of the web guy.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as, check the full registrar list too. Is their business name listed anywhere inside that registrar list? Because like if you go to the who is for the, your domain.
No, that's actually how I found out that, the person that's going to let go owns that domain.
All of it.
I did all of that. And
Okay, so they don't have anything inside the domain itself that points back to the client.
Besides the fact that the domain is the name of the whole entire company.
Yeah. Then you have to go contracts. You've got to start looking at the contracts. Everything there has to be legal at that point. So.
That I'm pretty sure they probably.
Yeah.
We were worried about him not having access to the database. But if he's got the WP config file, doesn't he have access to the database?
Not necessarily. Not if the guy went and deleted it or changed it.
Oh, well, but if it's still there.
Check the zip and see if the database connection strings are in there. Remember that file I showed you at the end that had database name, whatever? Look at it. See if it has the connection strings in it. You can use that to get to it with a SQL client. Okay? So,
these databases are like behind cPanel and you can't access it.
Yeah, some of them say local host, which means you can't get to them though, yeah. Like I had one that was IP address based and I was able to get to it easily.
It's a security issue. Most of them put them behind either, SSH or a cPanel or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get them by just putting them in.
Not typically. Any other questions? We went down to the whole interesting side of the house over here. So nothing else? You sure? Okay. All right. Well, my name is Jim True. Like I said before at the beginning, I'm the support lead and the community manager for the Pods framework. Pods is a plugin that allows you to do custom post types, custom taxonomies, extend the WordPress users. And I'm doing a horrible spiel for my business. But we're a free plugin, so it doesn't matter. Free plugin with free support. But anyway, yes, we allow you to take care of all of your custom content needs inside WordPress. Their website is pods.io. Twitter is Pods Framework. My website is jimtrue.com. My Twitter is @jimtrue. This is WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet downtown St. Pete here at the Tech Garage on the first and third Thursdays monthly. Our first meetup of the month is always a talk like this, a very structured talk. Structure. And our third Thursdays of the month is our crowdsourcing workshop, bring your project in and ask anything kind of thing. It's really nice. We just basically go around the room and everybody asks questions, and we try to find answers.
Yeah, there's a pretty big crowd for that.
Yeah, I think this is actually our biggest crowd. What do we got? 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24. Yeah, 24. We had about 18 last time we were here, so that's not bad. Our Meetup site, which you hopefully went to, is at Meetup WordPress St. Petersburg. Please make sure you actually join that meetup group. And if you're going to come to our meetups, make sure you RSVP so I can keep track of you. WordPress likes to keep track of you. It's one of their things. That's why why our meetup is actually inside your WordPress dashboard, is because WordPress is keeping track of you, and they want to know that you're coming to my meetups, or these meetups, your meetups, because that's the other big thing. Any one of you, once you join that meetup group, can actually go, you know what? I need help. I'm going to set up a coffee date on the calendar in 2 weeks or on a Saturday or whatever and say, anybody that wants to, get together for coffee and we'll sit there and talk about WordPress. You can put that on the calendar. You guys can sign up and join it, and it's yours. This is your meetup group. I talk technical crap. I think you guys have noticed that. I talk technical crap. I am not a beginner WordPress trainer by any means. I just can't do it. I wish I could. I can get, somewhere there, but I don't teach beginner WordPress stuff. But if you guys need that, feel free to create a calendar item for it, and we will try to find hosting for you. Okay? If you know of a hosting space and you want to host beginner classes or beginner work groups and stuff like that, put it on the meetup calendar. This is your meetup group. That's what it's for. We also have a website for Tampa Bay WordPress. Tampa Bay WordPress is 6 regional WordPress meetups across Tampa Bay. Ours are the most active because I've been running it for the last 2 years. Newport Richie is starting to blipping up on the map now, which is kind of nice. He's starting to host again. He's got a nice little location up there that he meets at. We're trying to get Tampa going again. We're trying to get Bradenton, Sarasota, Sarasota's got one, but Bradenton and Brandon.
Sarasota has one? Sarasota has one?
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. They're not in part of our group, so I can't include them. Our 6 are Tampa, St. Pete, Brandon, Brandon Valrico, Newport Richie, New Tampa, Wesley Chapel, and I'm missing one. Bradenton. Yeah, that's the one Allison's wanting to create down there. So we'll see if it happens.
So you should get selected.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Well, anyway, that website, the WP Tampa Bay WP.org, has our Slack chat link, has our Facebook group link, has all of our meetups listed. It has a combined calendar for all the different ones and stuff like that. All of our videos that I've done, all of our PDFs for the slides, they're all on there. Every single one. So this is actually going to be, as soon as we finish today, I will pow and get it up on the net too. So it'll be on our YouTube channel, and it'll also be linked from our meetup group. So Miami's WordCamp wanted me to announce to you guys. WordCamp Miami's coming up. It's their 10th year, March 16th to the 18th. Thursday, they actually have, if anybody comes down Thursday night, they have a meetup that night for everybody. So that's also there. Friday, they got a workshop day. Saturday and Sunday is WordCamp. They've got a kids camp again. It should be a really big thing. This is their 10th year. I've heard through some strange little Twitter vine that possibly Matt Mellenweg will be at it again. So that would be nice. This is the Tech Garage. They have been hosting us for free, which is wonderful. They have a tech talk coming up next in February 13th. It's called Leading with Purpose, How Our Mission Drives Revenue at the Penny Hoarder. Penny Hoarder is a business that's located here in St. Pete, but they've really been hitting like national news over the last several years because they're, I guess, a kind of a new concept. So it could be worth going to. It is at the Microsoft building over in Tampa, free registration, but you have to register. You have to register as required. Registration is required, but it's free. And it's 2 hours in the morning on that day. So my guess is they'll probably be giving coffee and pastries and donuts and stuff. So hey, good reason to go just for that alone. And I think that is it. Yes, that's it. Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for coming out.